Okay. Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope you've had a chance to eat a little bit, but not too much. Welcome to our side event that's organized by the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, convened by UNEP together with GIZ and UNIDO. Welcome. I invite the speakers actually to come and sit in front, like the first set of speakers that we have for this evening. As you can see on the screen, the title of our side event is on industry efforts to support Kigali implementation and sustainable cooling in developing countries. My name is Denise San Valentin from the Secretariat of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. And I will be your moderator for the evening. And I hope we can get you not just entertained, but also excited with what's ahead. Because as we know, in the Montreal Protocol, we always hear that it's the most successful multilateral environmental agreement. And indeed, this is true. And we know that really industry has played a very important role in accompanying the parties to the Montreal Protocol in the refrigerant transitions from CFCs and phasing out CFCs. That's really a big win. There's still a lot of challenges, but there has been big progress. And I think in terms of the progress, although there is a lot of movement in the transition from HFCs, unfortunately, warming seems to be happening faster, right? So we kind of have to catch up with the warming, and we are all in the same goal of trying to help with mitigation of climate change. For ourselves, for our societies, and for the future generations as well, of course. So indeed, we'd like to strengthen our partnership with the industry. So we bring to you this side event where we will have a range of companies sharing the latest of their efforts on the HFC phase down and energy efficient technologies. And then we will have a conversation, an exchange with you and panel discussion on really how can we work with the industry as a Montreal Protocol community to help and move faster in the transition. So for our first presentation, we will hear from someone that is known to many of us. He's an independent expert, Mr. Rajan Rajendran, to speak about the potential of industry to support fast transition to low GWP and efficient cooling in the RAC, refrigeration and air conditioning sector. Rajan, over to you.
Thank you, Denise. Good evening, everybody. And let me begin by thanking her for reaching out to me and asking me if I would speak. And she said, you have to inspire, and I don't know what that means. So if you all better be inspired at the end of 5 to 10 minutes. If you're not, then I have disappointed her, Denise, and I don't want to do that. No, kidding aside, I think when she asked me to do this, I said, we're going to talk about sustainable cooling. So I said, let me at least begin by laying out what I think, in my view. I'm not here as a member of TEEP or as our talk co-chair. I'm here as an independent expert. And you ask 100 people what sustainable cooling is, and you'll probably get 100 different answers. This is the 101 answer that you're going to get from me. So let me begin with that. For me, and by the way, if you wanted to think about some of these things and blend them into your presentation, Andrea and others, that would be fine. But anyway, so when I think about sustainability and sustainable approach to global cooling, there's two, this is not how it is done, but let me say that this is how traditionally people in the sustainability field will think about it. There is the embedded sustainability, okay? And then there is operational sustainability. They're not the same thing. Embedded sustainability is what is in the building and the equipment and things like that when you make it, okay? That's not what we're here to talk about. We're not going to address that today. This conversation that we're going to have is all about operational sustainability in the cooling business, which has two components to it, the direct and indirect. And I think these, direct comes from refrigerants and the leaks and the GWP and so on and so forth, as well as natural gas that you use in heating your building and so on. The indirect comes from the electricity that is consumed, and that's where energy efficiency comes into play, and the source of electrical energy comes into play. So the conversation that you're going to hear today is, I think, for the most part, going to be on the operational side, okay? So just keep that in mind. Understand that there are other aspects to a sustainable approach that is not being talked about. If you wanted to do this operational sustainability in a holistic way, you need to do these 4 things that you see on the list up there. The first is design, the right design. And the right design is not just the equipment, but it is the built environment. If you don't design the envelope of the building correctly, then that leads to other heating and cooling issues. So that's why I say the built environment and the equipment selection are both important. They're equally important. The second most important thing is how you install the equipment and how you commission the equipment. Very often, that is ignored. But we should not ignore that, because you take a great equipment and install it poorly, and then the equipment is not going to be efficient. You can take a great equipment, install it correctly, but don't commission it correctly. And she's probably going to talk a lot about these large equipment that need to be commissioned, how you adjust the temperature, how you do this, how you do that, how you set it all up. So installation and commissioning are extremely important. The third most important thing is during the operation and the maintenance. I don't know if you all know this, but almost 50%, or some would say even greater than 50% of the refrigerant loss does not happen at the end of life when you don't recover. It happens during the operation of the equipment. Over the 5 and 10-year period when the equipment is running, that is when a significant amount of refrigerant loss happens. There's a double effect here. When the refrigerant goes out of the system, something else happens. Your energy efficiency goes down, which means your electrical energy goes up. So you actually have a lot of negative impact. So paying attention to operation, how do you keep it running well? Maintain, maintain, maintain. There's only 3 things you need to do. Maintain the equipment, maintain the equipment, maintain the equipment, which means you need something else. You need qualified, good technicians. So it all comes around to the same thing. And then the end of life management, you all know about that. I'm not going to say more about it. Now, what can industry do? As industry members, I was part of the industry. I worked for about 35 years at a company called Emerson. It was also known as Copeland. I worked there for about 35 years. So I know a little bit about HVAC and our products and the industry. What I would say is sharing your knowledge, which is what they're doing today, is really the most important first step. And the thing to do when you do that is to remember that one size doesn't fit all. Just because something works for you doesn't mean that that same solution will work for you. Keep that in mind. And I'm going to tell you a little story at the very end. When it gets to 8 minutes, let me know. Otherwise, I can be here for half an hour. Okay, the second, you need to understand what the customer needs. What is it that a party needs? What is it a country needs? What they have, and then identify the gaps. And if you can provide it, that's what you should provide. Not provide something because you have an answer. My answer may not fit you. Her answer might be a better one for you. And that is where we have to be open-minded about this as industry members. Education, whether it's an engineer, technician, owner, end user, all of those people need to be educated. And the party has to take a responsibility for it. The country has to take a responsibility for it. But the help has to come from industry. It has to come from the Danfosses and Daikyns of the world. The third most important thing is to help build two things. One is the infrastructure, and I use the word infrastructure in a very broad sense, okay? And that is to enable adoption and growth. Notice I use the word growth. That's because just because I do a proof of concept, that doesn't mean that I've succeeded. You need to have the second proof of concept and the third and the fourth and the fifth and the 100th and the 1,000th installation before you can say this has been successful. You need regulations, standards and codes, the technology, market channels, including local manufacturing. You can't always build something somewhere else and then transport it 10,000 miles in order to make it work. Okay, so I say build the infrastructure, help build the country, build infrastructure, building capacity for technician certification, lab training, end-of-life handling equipment, process. Both of those things are important. So building, help the country, a party build. Funding mechanisms. We know about MLF, we know about private-public funding, but what about private funding? Can we get private funding to come in? Can you help drive policy to provide funded incentives for high energy efficiency equipment? These are all things that actually members of industry can do. I got 1 minute or 2 minutes. Okay. Finally, monitor and report for continuous improvement. I want to finish. I wasn't going to tell this story, but I'm going to tell this story anyway. When I was a young engineer, fresh out of college, I knew everything. Andrea's laughing. I knew everything. Now I don't know much, but back then I knew a lot. And so I had a technician by name Joe in my lab. I walked into the lab one day and I told Joe, I want you to pick this equipment computer up and I want you to move it to the next lab because I want to run some tests over there. And he said, yeah, I can do that. Joe was at that time 60 years old. And for me at that time, 40 was ancient. Okay? So I went back to my desk, came back in 2 hours, and the computer was still there. And me being who I was, I'm impatient. I picked up the computer and Joe was standing there watching me. And I walked into the next lab, and then I realized I didn't have a place to put it. And Joe just followed me and he said, now do you know what the problem is, Rajan? And I said, yep. And he goes, go put it back. So I went back and I set the computer down. Joe is long gone, by the way. He's passed on. But I still remember the story because this is what he said. Before you pick anything else up, young man, go make the receiving place ready. You need to get that place ready before you can go and pick it up and go put it there. And he says, that's what I was doing. And you know, I have thought about Joe every time. Today, I'll never pick anything up without making sure if I'm going to put it there, it's ready to receive. How does this story have any meaning for what we are trying to do? Before you pick up an idea from Daikin or Danfoss or Emerson or Copeland or whoever, make sure that you have a place to put it. The place where it has to go has to be ready to accept it. If it is not ready to accept it, it doesn't matter how great the idea is, it will never fly. So I'm going to stop there and let Denise take it from here. Thank you so much for having me here. I can talk for another 2 hours, but I won't.
Thank you, Rajan. Are you inspired? At least I am, because I think that's a really practical message, you know, for everyone. And I think that's also why we're here, because we want that room to be ready. We want, you know, to ready the place so that, you know, we can get the better and HFC free or low GWP alternatives coming to the countries. So thank you, Rajan, for your remarks. Now we will proceed with a presentation from CVC Testing Technology Company. It is a third party quality service provider specializing in testing, certification, and standardization for industries like smart home and automotive. CVC has done a research on global energy efficiency regulatory frameworks for refrigeration appliances. And we have here today Mr. Tao Yu Cheng, who is the air conditioner quality engineer at CVC Testing Tech. Over to you, Tao.
Hello? Hello? Okay, thank you. Actually, a very excellent and inspired starting for Mr. Rajan, and my name is Tao from CVC Testing from China. So today I'm talking about the energy efficiency regulatory frameworks for the refrigerating appliances, especially for air conditioner and refrigerator. And actually, this is also a very big topic, so I will just share some critical information. About the background, also we will show some comparison between different energy efficiency all around the world, and also discuss about some global trends in the energy efficiency for the air conditioner and refrigerator. So all of us know improving the energy efficiency for the electrical appliances is become a very response strategy to the energy crisis, and countries all around the world have mobilized more than 1 trillion to support energy efficiency improvement actions. From USA, from EU, from Japan, there are different kind of laws, standards, acts, or energy plan. And for cooling and for air conditioner and refrigerator has become most important area because the growth of the population and there will be a very rapid and large demand on the space cooling for such a large population. And especially in Asia, because it's a hot and humid place. With such climate, the space cooling becomes more and more important. And that is the background. So then I will show you some comparison around all the world, especially for the standard. Standard is very important in the energy efficient system. A market without standard, there will be a lot of electrical appliances with very low cost, but also with very low energy efficiency. So in generally, we make a conclusion. There's actually 3 kinds of energy efficient system in the world. It's like the energy class, which is used in China, in Europe, and also the minimum energy performance standard, MEPS, and also the top runner. There's 3 different kind of system. And why we choose China, Europe, Japan, USA, it is because around the research, we find it is the most advanced energy efficiency standard and system around the world. In China, there were 5 levels. Level 1 means the excellent product, and level 5 means the lowest one. And for Europe, they are the same. For air conditioner, using the A with 3+, and for the refrigerator, using the A as the highest rank for the energy efficiency for the refrigerator. And in Japan, they don't have such an energy class, but they have a top runner requirement. This is a voluntary requirement, but the air conditioner which can reach the requirement of the top runner will have a large advantage in the market. And in USA, both of the minimum requirements and the energy star is used in the USA market. And for the index for refrigerator, most of the market using the annual energy consumption. And for air conditioner, most of the advanced market use the seasonal performance factor. And this is going much detail, so I will not say much things. Just showing it's like the advanced market will using the seasonal energy efficiency, which is based on the building load, based on the climate weather, which means that, for example, in China, for cooling season, we use the seasonal energy efficiency ratio, which is called SER. And in Europe, they're also using SER. And in America, they also use SER. But the same SER is different. For example, the same products in China using a China standard test, they may have 5, maybe the number of the SER is 5. But if you use the Euro standard, then the SER will be 6. So there are different SER. So there's some research to combine this difference. And in Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, they based on a large data from the Asian national agency researching on the energy efficiency of the electrical appliance, and so they built up an equation to translate different energy efficiency index. And CBC basing on this equation and compare with our own testing database to compare different standard requirement for different energy efficiency level. So we can find, for example, the class 1 in China, which also equals to the A+22 and A++ and A++ in Europe, and that's a comparison between the energy efficiency. So this gives a reference that if your product in China is class 1, then you will know what's your rank in other area. And for the refrigerator, actually it's simpler than air conditioner. Both use the energy consumption, annually energy consumption. And the methods are IEC and American method. There's two teams of the testing the energy efficiency. And for the index, there will be a little bit difference. For example, in China, the energy efficiency for a refrigerator will considering the energy efficiency with load. But in EU, they also use like kind of energy efficiency index, but there's without load. That's some difference. But actually, it's quite similar in the area of the refrigerator. And the final part, I will tell something about the future of the energy efficiency, especially for the standard. Because the Chinese standard now, it's actually under discussion, and actually it will be published a new version, maybe just next year or maybe this year later. And a comprehensive factor evaluation of energy efficiency would publish. What does that mean? It's like, so first, the great difference is using dynamic load. What does dynamic load means? Because actually in the past, we testing the energy efficiency of air conditioner. We use the static condition for the air conditioner, but actually in real, we know the room temperature when we're using, the temperature is changing all the way. So dynamic load is introduced to evaluate more, actually would be more come to the realistic. And this is not only in Chinese standard, but also in the HRI standard. They're also considering about CVP procedure, which is also similar as dynamic load. Also the refrigerator impact factor, considering different GWP, and also a smart grid response activity capability. And other is a short-term prediction. During the R&D procedure for the manufacturer, sometimes they will have large costs on testing and research to adjust their performance of the machines. But we found that because actually it's gives some helps come from the AI models, we will build our models for the product. So we may use 5-hour tests to make a prediction of the whole year of the product, and accuracy will reach more than 19%. And these models could be also specified based on different kinds of brands and models. We can like make some specific change because their design, their compressor may most different. Yeah, and a final trend is the carbon efficiency ratio. We know that there's a carbon footprint emission, and actually for the air conditioner, carbon footprint emission is unfair for them because we know, for example, air conditioner, if we think it can use 10 years, so during the user age, when thinking about the carbon emission, there will be 10 years. But if we just say they can just use 5 years, and the carbon emission will be 5 years. So you know it's unfair to evaluate air conditioner directly using the carbon footprint. So we are thinking about using a carbon efficiency. It's not only the carbon emission, but also with the total function units, like the cooling capacity and the heating capacity, which could be more exactly or accurate to evaluate the performance on the carbon performance. And yeah, and that's all. And just give some introduction for CBC. We are a serve lab, but I think Ms. Van has already introduced us. And actually, we are in China, but we also have a lot of international cooperation with international standard. Like I'm also a IEC standard expert, and I'm registered for the air conditioner and also for some low temperature medical refrigerator. So very warmly welcome you to contact with me and discuss these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tao. We will have a chance for a quick Q&A after we also hear from the companies, but I think there's a lot of people who want to talk with you, Tao, as well, because, now there's discussions on the regional centers for excellence and regional testing. So I think, he shared his email. And also just to announce that the slides will be available in the Secretariat website later on, so you don't have to individually ask for the presentations. Okay, now we will proceed to the showcase of companies and share the latest on their most innovative technologies. We have 3 companies with us here on stage tonight. So we will start with Mr. Ethan Young, who is the Development Director of the Thailand Research and Development Center for Refrigeration Air Conditioning Division at Midea Group. You have the floor, Ethan, and you also have 5 minutes.
Good evening, dear distinguished chairman, leaders from the government and international organizations, and friends from the industry. I'm Yang Yaxin from China Media Residential Air Conditioner Division. It's my honor to have the opportunity to share the successful experience in innovation and industrialization of media R290 for the implementation of the Kigali Amendment. As media is the international technology enterprise, the business mainly include smart home, industrial, renewable, and energy technology, and building technology, and so on. It insists the green and low carbon development strategy. The residential air conditioner division is the biggest division of the group. We not only offer the traditional products like split AC, also we offer some innovative new products like Portal Split, which is now the top selling in Europe. About the R290, I want to introduce the property and some technical challenges. R290 shows environmental benefits as the ODP is 0, the GWP below 3. Also, it delivers high energy efficiency, outperforming R32, but however, it has a clear disadvantage that it's significantly flammable. All those posing great technical challenges for the development and the commercialization of R290 products, especially on safety, cost, and reliability. Also, the whole industry chain needs upgrading accordingly. Media has addressed all these challenges through some breakthrough. To address the flammable properties of R290, we make some breakthrough on electrical controller. As we see, we use ignition, source-free, and we conduct the validation under extreme environment and flammable conditions. Also, to meet the cost and safety requirement, we make breakthrough on heat exchanger. We use smaller diameter tubes to reduce the charge amount. Also, we use efficient slide. We use efficient slide fin. Also, new copper pipe with lower flow resistance and high heat flux to improve the heat exchange efficiency. Also, we developed some design optimization. Sorry about my PPT. on lower oil discharge compressor and higher flux EEV, also innovative control logics to solve the oil blockage, the system reliability. Through all of these efforts, the commercialization of R290 RAC has made a breakthrough. Our products had launched in 73 countries and regions. The sales had exceeded 10 million units by 2025. Also, to support the commercialization of R290 with large-scale production and a total of 30 production lines have been upgraded. Also, media have carried out a special training program for R290 installation and maintenance. Also, media have built the core reliability standards covering the entire life circle and the whole industry chain. Okay, from the first compressor line launched in 2011. Now, to be awarded by Euromonitor Innovation, media is the world's #1 R290 air conditioner company. We had pursuing R290 solution 50 years. As we all know, refrigerant transition is a challenge for global. It's a systematic project that requires responsibility and collaboration with policy standards and innovative technology. Also, safety management. Media will going forward. The green tomorrow, media will make efforts to curb the global warming. Thank you. I'm Ethan from Thailand R&D. Have any problem? Try to talk with me. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. That was really very inspiring, actually, as well. And now we will move to my neighbor, Andrea Voigt. We know her well. She is the Vice President of Public and Industry Affairs, Sustainability, Communication, everything of Danfoss. And because you're a lady, you have an extra minute. So you have 6 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Denise, for the invitation, and good afternoon, everyone. I was wondering what I'm going to talk about, and when I was discussing with Denise earlier today, I then suddenly decided, okay, I'm not going to talk about our products or our components or our technologies. I'm going to talk about what Rajan actually said about making the markets ready for new technologies and for alternative technologies. So 2 words about Danfoss, without going into detail here, just to say Danfoss is a multinational group. It's headquartered in Denmark and employees really all around the world, nearly 40,000. I'll spend a little bit of time on this one here. From a company perspective, why sustainability? Here in this forum, we are used to hearing about the policy perspective, the environmental perspective, the climate, etc. But from an industry perspective, from a company perspective, there are many reasons actually to go for sustainability and for sustainable solutions. One very important one being reputation and the reward that comes with reputation. And that comes with what the customers expect, how the customers perceive you as a company and what the market demands. It's also about cost efficiency. It's about making sure that the sustainable products and solutions that are being placed on the market, that they are cost efficient and they have a business model behind. It's about innovation, and after all, it's also about better access to capital Because if you as a company, you remain stuck in the past, at one day or another, you will face difficulties if you want good interest rates, if you want simple or easy access to capital. You will have a disadvantage if you're not looking forward and if you remain somewhere stuck in the past. That's a very important aspect, which is often forgotten in the policy discussions. It's also about risk mitigation. It's about being resilient to economic shocks, to climate, to other risks. It's about compliance, obviously, and I don't need to tell this to this audience here since we are at a meeting which is very much dedicated to compliance. As I said, it's about cost of capital and it's about recruitment. When I'm having talks with candidates who want to join Danfoss, one of the points that is mentioned by nearly every candidate that wants to work for us is sustainability. It's the purpose of the company. So if you want to be attractive as a company to the market and also to young talents, then sustainability is a very, very strong argument. And at the end of the day, it's also about employee satisfaction. So there is a whole bunch of topics that we very often do not even mention when we talk about sustainability. And that means refrigerants, but that means also everything that Rajan was saying. It means the energy consumption, the indirect emissions, the electricity we use, etc. So what I wanted to show here is what is a company like Danfoss doing in terms of getting the market ready. And I should say here that Danfoss is totally agnostic in terms of refrigerants. Besides the fact that we are a sustainable company and we have sustainability in our purpose and very strong initiatives related to sustainability. But as regards the type of refrigerants, we are agnostic and we are providing the market with what the market is demanding. And that's what these few slides are focusing upon. It's about what can we as a company do to make the market ready, or as Rajan was saying, so that equipment is not just dumped somewhere, but that the market is ready to actually welcome that equipment and to use it safely and sustainably. So these are some examples here. This is about our online learning platform. It's available online. It's free of charge. It has a lot of different online courses about all sorts of topics and a lot also about natural refrigerants, a lot about CO2, flammable refrigerants, etc. So I invite everybody who is interested, just go and have a look for yourselves. We also tailor-make training programs for customers, for schools, for universities. We have cooperation with many different players in that sense. This is a second example. It's very hands-on. We are very proud of that one. It's mini mobile training units. We call them MTUs, and that is specifically for technician training. Here is an example of a mobile CO2 training unit, which is quite new, actually. It's very compact. And it offers basically the same features as a larger system, and it's transported in a container, and then it can be used on site for the technicians to train them on site and to make sure that they know how to handle CO2. It's different things that are being tackled in this unit. It's about the compressors, it's about the smaller components, it's about the electronics. It's about monitoring as well. So a lot of opportunities here. And there are possibilities, of course, to work together with UN agencies or also with national ozone units. If you are interested in such MTUs, I'm happy to explain further. Then we have, as a philosophy, our global application development centers. So those centers are in order to showcase technology, to co-create new solutions together with customers, and also to field test solutions. We have such application development centers around the world. Here the photo is from the one in Denmark. It's a supermarket in this case. Then we have one in the US, in India, in China, and also in other parts of the world. So again, that's very interesting, of course, for OEMs, but also for end users to test, to develop solutions together. If you have more requests for more information, don't hesitate to reach out. This is another example on how to demonstrate, to showcase sustainability. Here it's our Sustainability Technology Center in Singapore. And in that center, we show different applications of refrigeration and air conditioning technology, and also of other than for segments which are more about marine and electrification and agricultural applications as well. From the RAC HP industry point of view, there is, for example, a CO2 cold room. We also have district cooling showcase there, vertical farming, so quite a lot of showcases of technology with the aim to raise awareness and to educate about the possibilities. And then finally, we are also helping to make markets ready for the flammable refrigerants. We have 2 big state-of-the-art ATEX laboratories, one in China, which is very recent, and one in France, which is currently being even further equipped. So ATEX is not necessary for each and every application, obviously, but it is important if you're an OEM, for example, and you want to test your equipment. So it's about getting the market ready, making sure that that the opportunities are there for the technicians, for the OEMs, for the customers to be ready for the use of alternative refrigerants. And I'll end saying that we'll have a side event on Thursday at lunchtime about flammable refrigerants. So don't hesitate to join us, and it's here in this room as well. Thanks, Denise.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm sure that you have some questions, but we'll listen first to our last company speaker, Mr. Zhang. I hesitate to say the next, you can just say it later, who is the Assistant Dean of the Central Research Institute of Moontech, China. Mr. Zhang, you have the floor.
Hello. Good evening. All the distinguished experts and colleagues dedicated to advancing climate protection. My name is Zhang Quanquan from Moon Environment Technology Company Limited in China. For convenience, you can call me Benjamin. It is a great honor to be invited to this conference to share with you some our company's exploration in the replacement of commercial and industrial refrigerant. Okay. Founded in 1956 and listed in 1998, Moontech is a global diversified industrial group. We focus on refrigeration, central air conditioning, eco heating, and integrated energy use. Our business covers over 120 countries or regions, owning 9 industrial parks globally. We have built full temperature and full pressure solution for grade natural refrigerant. Temperature cover minus 271 degree to 200 degree, and pressure up to 19 megapascal. We focus on natural refrigerants such as ammonia, carbon dioxide, propane, water, steam, helium, air, and hydrogen. Okay, we also have built outstanding R&D capability from components to systems, such as screw compressor, centrifugal compressor, magnetic levitation motor. We also have built comprehensive testing capabilities. Okay, our business cover ammonia, carbon dioxide cascade refrigeration systems, such as in Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand. We also focus on the heat pump based on the natural working fluid, such as heat pump for generating hot water, or steam. Also heat pump for compressing R600A. That's all. Thanks for your listening.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we are ready to take some questions from the audience to our distinguished presenters. Is there anyone? Okay, Jan from Atmosphere, and then Izat from Egypt.
There you go.
Maybe
Hello.
if you can
Yes.
introduce yourself
Sure.
quickly so that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Jan from Atmosphere. Thank you for having us. I have two questions. One is for a gentleman from Iten, I believe from Media, and the other one from Andrea from Danfoss. I will start with Media. Congratulations on the 10 million milestones, 10 million of units with propane, right, across your portfolio. To put things in perspective, could you please give us a rough idea of what percentage of your annual sales is with propane today across these product groups? And yeah, maybe I can start there and the second question later.
Sorry, sir, you mean the detailed percentage of every product?
Yeah, no, across your product line, right?
Huh?
Roughly, are we talking about 1 to 3%, or is it more? When it comes to propane in your annual sales across this, 3 product groups, dehumidifiers, splits, and mobile units.
Sorry, maybe.
Maybe I'll try differently. What's the market share of propane?
然后他的问题就是你这个290的产品占你的整个的这个产品的这个比例是多少？就是这个空调吧，就以空调举例。
Okay. You mean China or another? Or the global?
Globally, yeah.
Globally. As for media, our total capacity of our product is how to say 5,000. Maybe every year is 50 million every year of media products. But the R290 product maybe only 100,000. So a small percent of the RSC percentage. In this year and maybe next year, the split air conditioner in China, we want to have a big growth of the split air conditioner. Maybe every year maybe have the scale of 10 million.
Thank you. It'll be great to get to 10 million per year. We'll be talking. Thank you. We
Yeah.
have just scratched the surface on this one. Second question to Andrea, if I may. Danfoss has done so much for natural refrigerants over the years: industrial refrigeration, commercial refrigeration, heat pumps, etc. You have mentioned the small training unit. I think it's fantastic. Every country should have one, especially the developing countries. My question to you is, how do you balance the statements, full focus or key focus on sustainability, and we are agnostic when it comes to refrigerants, right? Because I don't see, I understand, but I would like to, if you can elaborate on that topic, for instance, knowing the discussions with HFOs currently, right? So the issues associated with the new generation of chemicals. How do you balance the sustainability and the agnostic approach to refrigerant? Thank you.
I think things need to be put into perspective. So I'm diverting a little bit from the example that you were given, but taking another one where this is very obvious. Take Africa, for example, and take cold chain deployment in Africa. So then you could say, okay, Kenya has not so much cold chain in place for smallholder farmers, for example. Okay, so what do we want to do as a company if we want to support sustainability in that particular market? Is it then more important to just deploy cold rooms as such and then not look so closely what refrigerant is used in that cold room and put the focus on the fact that we help deploy a cold chain there and we help to reduce food loss and we make sure that the farmers are equipped in the best possible way to bring their products to market? Or are we then saying, okay, we'll take a cold room only if that cold room is running on whatever, CO2 or whatever it may be, and then take the risk that at the end of the day, the cold room is not going to be deployed simply because it's not available or because training is not available or people cannot install it or it's more expensive or whatever the reason may be. I'm giving that example because I think it's always a fine balance, and you cannot just across the board say, okay, I'm going to be sustainable, and therefore I'm only using hydrocarbons or CO2 or ammonia or water or whatever it may be. It always depends on the context and of what is it that we want to achieve, and then it's also about putting into perspective the emissions that go with it. If I'm using maybe a natural refrigerant and then my unit is not running very efficiently, not because of the natural refrigerant, but because of other circumstances, for example, have I really made then a sustainable contribution? I'm not so sure. So I don't think it can be polarized like that, like black and white. It is about making sure that the markets are ready and that we deploy the right refrigerants in the right circumstances and that we put things into perspective. And I don't see any contradiction with the sustainability statement there.
Thank you. Ezat, you had a question?
Thank you very much for this opportunity and thanks for organizer of this side event, and my thanks extended to all the panelists and the speaker. We enjoy the information. As you all know, that the manufacturing, the responsibility is not only limited to producing and selling equipment, but it's also for managing its environmental impact at the end of its life, which we know as extended producer responsibility. However, this extended producer responsibility varies by countries or by company, by producer. In my country, it is a challenge. Not all producer would like to take this responsibility. But of course, there is some. But there is too much difference between. So I would like to listen because we have. Here international companies, and if they can elaborate a little how they tackle this or how they manage to undertake this responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. But to clarify, is that do you only mean at the end of the lifetime of the products and equipment? Okay. who would like to respond? Like, does Danfoss, Moontech, or Media provide any or have insights on, you know, the end of life disposal of your products? Or if not, for example, would your companies be available for responding to questions on how to safely and sustainably dispose, you know, the old equipment, or whenever they're replacing the same, like this with the same brand? Do you have anything on that? Go ahead, Andrew.
I can give it a start, although I think it's more relevant for OEMs to answer that than for a component manufacturer. But I can, from a component manufacturer's perspective, say, or from Danfoss' perspective, say that we are looking very much into circularity, for example, so that when you design new products, you already look into how do you design that product. Is it possible to include in the design already the fact that you can dismantle it, that you can recycle it, that you can reuse it? So make this as a part of new product developments right from the start. It's also one of our KPIs from a sustainability perspective in Danfoss. So circularity is one important lever there. It's also driven in Europe, I should say, it's also driven by legislation to a certain extent, not yet existing, but upcoming, where there will also be a stronger focus on circularity in terms of the materials being used, in terms of resilience of supply chains, for example, so that a region is not, or a country is not only dependent on imports of materials that are not available in that country. So if you take a circular approach and you don't dump or waste, put your products to waste at the end of life, then of course you can contribute to that resilience.
Thank you. Do you want to respond?
I want to share is why media can pursuing R290 for nearly 50 years. I think the main reason is first is the policy and the help of the government. Also, for all this year, we had the help from the from the China government. So the help is important to the company. As we are a company, we should consider the cost, consider the input of the money to the research and the people, the R&D people. You know, all this is money for the company. So the help of the government and is more important. Also, is the company can find a chance to improve the effect on the industry. As we think R290 is the future of the alternative refrigerant. So we can insist on this field. We can put people to research, and we can put the production line. So we think this is the future. So we insist on it. The third thing, what I want to say is, so if the government can talk with the company, then give some help. Then the help from maybe the fund, maybe the policy, then the company can find the direction to insist on this field. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think that is a really good transition to our next set of panelists. Thank you to our first set of presenters. If we can give them a big round of applause. You are still also welcome to chip in to the discussion that will be facilitated by Ellen Michelle from GIZ. So she's already here, but I'd also like to call Mr. Yunri Zhou from UNIDO and Mr. Tad Ferris from the Institute of Governance and Sustainable Development to join on stage. Yeah, you can leave it. Stay close, yes. Because we would like also to, because this is really a discussion together with the industry, our countries as well, who are here in the room with us, as well as, you know, implementing agencies and civil society. So over to Ellen for moderating this session.
Thank you, Denise, and also, again, good evening. As mentioned, this is now the maybe more dialogue part where we invite all of you to also actively contribute. It is an industry event, but actually we would like you and us to engage in this dialogue and see what is it actually, how can industry work together with countries / governments / national ozone units present here and civil society at an international level, so that there's a faster deployment of sustainable cooling technologies. And for that, I would like to put the question first to Yunri for UNIDO, then to Ted from IGSD, and during their presentations or replies, please prepare either your statements or questions, and then we can involve in discussion. Thanks. Yunri, please go ahead.
So thank you very much, Ellen. So regarding the first question, how the industry can work together with their countries and civil society at the international level for the faster deployment of their most sustainable technologies. I think before we answer this question, we need to first know what the key challenging faced by the industry to promote their either natural refrigerants or sustainable technologies. As I mentioned by the three companies in the first section of today, you can see there are several barriers that we jointly identified. Firstly, is regarding the cost issue, especially the higher cost of the alternative technologies. For example, there are R290 in the residential air conditioner sector, also the CO2 technology for the commercial refrigeration, and also CO2 technology for the mobile air conditioner sector. The higher cost still one of the key challenging phase for the industry to apply this technology at a big scale. The second challenging, I think, the industry face is regarding the safety. So we already mentioned a lot during the first section regarding the use of the flammable refrigerant. The third challenging also, I think, faced by of the country here in some of the country want to promote the sustainable technology. However, actually this technology not evenly assessed by all the Article 5 countries. Some of the countries, they even don't have the opportunity to have the good supply chain for the sustainable technology, for example, the natural refrigerant-based technologies. And then after we know these challenges, we will find the way how we can accelerate this process to deploy more sustainable technologies. The first, regarding the first challenge we face, how to address the higher cost issue, I think this need joint efforts. Most important, the efforts from the company itself. From here, you are spending a lot of efforts for the R&D and try to develop the lower cost products and innovative products and through your value chain. But here we have to realize that one of the key issues that the cost of the alternative technology also highly related with the amount of the products manufacturing in the market. we get very good information. Actually, I just take the mobile air conditioning sector as example. CO2 technology actually is a good technology. However, one of the professors in China do a lot of research saying if their manufacturing amount is less than 10,000, then the cost will be much, much higher than their, their current 134A based system. However, if their amount, their CO2 based mobile air conditioner, if their amount is already higher than 500,000, the cost will be nearly maybe 5 or 10% higher than that. If the amount in the industry higher than 2 million, even higher, then cost quite equivalent, even lower to their traditional the HFC-based technologies. You can see that in Europe now, they already have the more than 1 million CO2-based mobile air conditioning sector on the road. So this is give the signal that we need to put the strong efforts to lower the cost, and the industry can manufacture more, and the cost will be reduced further. But how we can mobilize the fund? I think multilateral fund give the different donor give the financial incentive for the industry to spend further efforts to lower the cost, but also the different companies along the supply chain from the downstream. This is also good. The second issue is regarding the standards. Of course, we mentioned a lot of safety standards, but however, the standards is also very important to ensure all those supply chain, the downstream companies, they can also work in the same directions. For example, either the component supplier, the component level suppliers, if with the clear direction of the standards, those companies also can put the R&D and also efforts in this direction. They will further reduce the cost. I think this is standards also is very, very important. The third thing, I think also the confidence of the industry, where is the direction of the future development. So therefore, in this regard, I think the government also can play very important roles. For example, in the National Action Plan for the HFC phase down, the first stage of that, if the country can give a clear direction regarding the future, the ban or the limitation of the HFC use, and regarding the either GWP value or the timetable for the phase out of the HFCs. Those clear timeline will give the clear picture of the industry that what direction you need to go ahead with that. Those, I think those will give strategy, and also the national plan will give the clear information for the industry to move forward for that. And the last, I want to highlight that international collaboration also is very important, because the technology sometimes just the innovative technology only available in the few countries, not all. However, there are a lot of demands from the other developing countries. The technology transfer, capacity building, and also awareness raising, and also the other capacity build for the technicians, and also the standards for the other countries also equally important for their this is a faster deployment of the more sustainable technologies at the global and the big scales. I think I stop here and give the floor back to Ellen.
Thank you very much, Juni, for showing those different points that are important in this network of different actors promoting sustainable cooling. So, Ted, would you like to add?
Sure, I can add a bit, and I have a number of hats. One that I've been for almost 30 years. I was also a global counsel in the private sector, representing industry working in the global south. I started my journey in public interest. I went private sector for about 30 years, and I'm back with the public sector in our community. And I also am on the board of the CCAC. So you can see the hats are increasing, but also the experience working in the global south, which was my focus throughout this entire career, has been pretty critical. And understanding, as Yunrei said, what are the readiness, what is the deployment criteria for getting to the global south? Because the demand is increasing. But we face a challenge, correct? Our Montreal Protocol is ingenious. It is always cited as one of the best systems, but somehow their industry has a critical role in all of these solutions, correct? But we have phase down and phase out periods which are differentiated on purpose, because that is the equitable way. It is the way that this was set up, as with many treaties. But in that differential phase, when the developed world phases down and out first, where does the older technology often go? Older meaning the ones that are no longer deployed in the developed countries. And sometimes that can create a challenge for us, correct? And how we work that transition and also have the global south have access to next generation technologies that it needs to succeed, and so that it doesn't become a vicious cycle whereby the funding mechanisms end up then paying for even more, in our words, on life cycle refrigerant management, extended producer responsibility, et cetera, for the global south. So creating our own problem. How do we address these things? And in much of this, it is looking at that readiness criteria, looking for the opportunities and the tools, be it procurement, be it buyers clubs, other things, where we can create the enabling environment that is necessary for our colleagues in places such as, I'm giving an example just in terms of Africa, where it's not just an assumption that it is not ready. And I'll read you something that we should all access as we think about this in our Montreal Protocol community that was just issued last year. And interestingly, of course, it's called the Dakar Declaration to Advance Accessibility to Efficient Cooling Technology with Climate-Friendly Refrigerants. So basically, it's a call for collaboration. And it's we, the African group of negotiators on ozone, and our African colleagues will be very familiar with this, recommend that cooling equipment importing countries adopt or update as appropriate minimum energy performance standards, assessment procedures for new and used refrigeration and air conditioning equipment placed on the market, and pursue regional alignment of such measures. So there is part of it, it's not the whole answer. They further recommend inviting cooling equipment exporting countries to prohibit the export of new and used refrigeration and air conditioning equipment that is restricted from placement on the exporting countries' own markets without receiving formal approval from importing countries for environment, climate, energy efficiency, or safety reasons. And then third, they encourage all manufacturers of refrigeration and air conditioning equipment in or trading with developing countries to accelerate countries' climate goals and Montreal Protocol obligations, including with respect to lifetime energy performance and cost, and adopt extended producer responsibility system that also includes retailers for cooling appliances and life cycle refrigerant management, which is needed to provide financial viability for environmentally sound treatment to support developing countries' climate goals and Montreal Protocol obligations. So thinking of that, and again, understanding that this declaration was sent out for a purpose, it is essentially a call to say, look, we have an issue with transitioning our countries. How can we access next generation? Often we're told it's available, but we can't find it in our own markets. And then often we have a list of things that we would all agree to, as was said at the very beginning, right? You have to say, is it fit for purpose yet? And do we have, don't take the computer and put it in a room if you have nowhere to put it. But what kind of collaborations, as Yunrei said, can we create through the different actors to start to facilitate this transition and as quickly as possible? We're all dealing with unforeseen climate emergencies where our cooling technologies are needed and are life-saving in many cases, because many of these places around the globe may not yet be at the, it's a big market situation, but it is a place where if we don't transition, lives are lost. We're seeing that in the first world now, but we also very much have it in our Global South colleagues in the Montreal Protocol communities. So we're all very familiar with what the punch list might be, but what are other enabling activities? I see one of our colleagues from Ghana here who deals with this, as you know, very often, who may have other comments to add on this particular issue. We have colleagues here who are dealing with every day next generation technology, thinking about it. But again, how do we enable our Global South colleagues to partake in these innovations in a way that's reasonable? We understand companies need to make profit. We understand that they do not want to get into situations where there will be safety problems, because that will set us back from transition. But there may be other ways, for example, that we've also worked on, for example, in the mobile air conditioning area, in work with particular segments like hospitals, where transitions can happen that then create a training workforce, that create different enabling environments that then can be deployed more broadly within the country. You know, are there these kind of example areas which can be a focus for our next generation technology, and the investment criteria, satisfy the investment criteria for the companies to say, okay, if we have an opportunity to transition the hospital system of XYZ in a developing country, that tips the point to where we can start to do that. And then we can provide access more broadly within that country. That's just one thinking. We've had other experiences with banks. I know some of my colleagues are also here, where there's been a thing, well, banks, they could afford to transition their whole system for the ATMs. What next? Now that the technology has been deployed, maybe we can look more broadly within those markets. And these examples were in Africa, for example. So it is possible. And we also shouldn't, I was pointing to my friend from Ghana, because we shouldn't bring some assumptions that may not be accurate in all cases. For example, it was often an assumption that I know my colleague Hubert from Ghana was mentioning, that no one wants to pay this price. And they have had some programs where it was really the awareness raising component of their program that solved the issue. The government provided incentives, but few, if any, took those incentives. They paid the additional price because they were made aware through the awareness raising program of the lifetime cost savings for the more advanced unit, the next generation cooling equipment. Things like that should be factored in. Obviously, companies are sophisticated, but to have that ground level awareness helps us open opportunities that we might not otherwise have been aware of.
Thank you very much, Ted. I think a lot of points were touched upon. I especially like to highlight this collaboration also between countries to put forward the strength and the energy, and to show that that we or you are aligned on certain aspects to consider. So now we would really like to open up the discussion to the floor, to all the participants. Please feel free to either put forward questions or share your experiences on collaboration with industry to move forward on employing sustainable technologies. So whoever would like to put forward a comment or question, let me know. Yes, Jan. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jan from Atmosphere. If I may just elaborate quickly, if I look back last 15, 20 years, we see that the development when it comes to natural refrigerants, components, systems, solutions, training, capacity building, all of that is accelerating. My question to the panelists: can you give us your idea of where is the biggest opportunity of leapfrogging to natural refrigerants for developing countries? Thank you.
Yunri, you put on your mic.
Well, this is thank you very much for this question. I think for the implementation of the Kigali Amendment, actually this gave a lot of opportunity to this to jump from their traditional technology to really their natural refrigerant technologies. I just give you some example. For example, for the residential air conditioner sector, that's what we did in China. This is exactly the case that we directly go from 22 to R290. You know, both the country and the industry directly jump from their technology. Of course, currently they still dominant refrigerant still R32, but in a short term, I think the country will transition to the R290 technologies. This is the same also for the mobile air conditioner sector. For the country that we are working for, that we also give the clear information for the country to make the decision, especially in the national unit. You know, now there are several alternative technologies, including their wife, but due to the PFAS, this is not the technology that we recommend to the country. However, we also know that the CO2 and the R290 for the mobile air conditioner still not commercialized, widely used in the Article 5 countries. But the good thing that for the first stage of the CAPE, you know, the country still have some time to just say do more research regarding the feasibility study of the alternative technologies and still do more capacity building and also policy support to adopt the natural refrigerant technologies. Because why? Firstly, for the Article 2 countries, their timeline for them is 10 years early than their Article 5 countries. They need to firstly give the answer. I'm sorry to say that. They gave the answer, clear answer, what are exactly the alternative technologies, especially considering the impact of the PFAS. Even for China, China also will be banned their GWP higher than 150 by the July of 2029. So therefore, also the country and the industry need to give the answer what the technologies you use for the mobile air conditioner sector to meet the requirements of the Kigali Amendment. I think this is give a very good message to the other country to thinking about in the maybe second stage of the CAPE, they can consider how they can jump directly from the HFCs to another alternative technologies. I don't have the answer yet. This answer need to be answered by the industry in the country because they need to be ready for this transition. But of course, in this process, I think everyone here in the room, we need to take efforts, you know, to push that both from the policy side, capacity building, but also some of the demonstration projects, even some of the conversion projects, but also the well-established financial mechanism to facilitate the process. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just to add now, taking my hat as GIZ Pro Klima, not as facilitator, most probably for all subsectors, be it domestic, be it commercial, be it industrial, we do see that there are solutions available that run on natural refrigerants. And from our point of view, it's also not an either natural refrigerants or energy efficient, but actually very nice combinations are also available. And maybe just to add on what was said earlier, get markets ready. I think nobody will disagree, but I feel it's sometimes used a bit as an excuse. Markets are not ready yet. That's why we cannot go in with new technologies. So I think all of us together should try to make an effort to have really these markets ready. And nobody should wait for somebody else to have those markets prepared, because then nothing will happen. So I think it's international cooperation, but even more, it should be industries and countries working on this. And Denise, please come in.
I have a kind of question, but also based on like reflections, because I mean, for the newer technologies, the more sustainable technologies, we often hear that, and you know, we in the countries, they need more training, they need more capacity building. The MLF funding is, you know, a certain level. And it's not enough really to train all of the servicing technicians. But we also heard, for example, from Danfoss that they have these wonderful training, you know, modules. And I'm sure that for many companies, they do have some available, I don't know, courses or like ways to actually share the learning. And I don't know, it's 2026. Even my 4-year-old son knows how to, look for things on YouTube. So I'm just thinking, is there some sort of, innovative way or some kind of, new ways of working together for the industry, for the companies and NOUs to get the technicians trained? Maybe this is actually already happening in some cases, and I actually, it's more of a question to those who are working directly on this field. Are there good examples of such collaboration that can maybe be, scaled up to the other global south or developing countries?
Yes, please.
Okay, no, thank you. My name is Frida from Namibia. I will honestly like to thank all the speakers, particularly Rajan and Mr. Ted, all the wisdom, particularly for the Article 5 countries. The issues, the challenges that we have was so perfectly outlined. And I took some notes also, particularly in terms of the recommendations to support the policy measures in these countries as well that was made by Mr. Ted. It's I only missed one, basically. But like I said, it's not an issue of capacity building in the developing countries, I should say, particularly Africa in general. It is an issue of the uptake of these alternative technologies. So what are the developed world or the Article 2 countries doing? Maybe also the implementing agencies to support and strengthen these institutions in the developing countries to ensure that these technologies are introduced and welcome in the industry, because it is, apart from the technician training, I do not really foresee a challenge in that aspect, but I do foresee an issue in terms of the industry, industry to, in a certain way, maybe perhaps to collaborate with the exporting companies of these technologies, right? And if the end users or the consumers are resistant to these new technologies, there is no way. So the issue at hand here is more to do with awareness. How can we, make sure that that not only the government, I mean the reliance in the developing countries basically is more on the government. So we do not have the support of private sector to ensure the penetration or the leapfrogging of these alternatives, particularly the R290 ACs. So I would like maybe Mr. Ted also to elaborate more in terms of the support that the industry can give to the government, because the heavy reliance on the government is a biggest issue. The companies will give you an ultimatum to say, fine, if the government is on board, we can bring in these technologies, right, and sell it. But even starting from the retailers, for us, the issue is the cost, right? Number one, people can't afford these new technologies. It comes with a cost. The other issue is the awareness. Are they well informed? And Mr. Rajan had clearly stated, where are we placing these things? The issue is not to bring it in, dumping it, but these people, are they well informed? So those are the aspects that we are basically looking at, and maybe we should start there, right? There are incentive schemes, fine, but these people are not well informed. How are we penetrating? Even at the shop, when you go in there, in the African countries, you will see a sales agent. They will not correct, they will not inform the client, the end users, okay, fine, take this, the client will come and look at the cost. Which one is the cheapest? I will opt with the cheapest. But then what are the advantages, the benefits that we can get from this expensive technology or a unit? So those are the things that we need to, the whole entire cold chain up from the manufacturing up until the end user needs to be educated. So only then can we help these global South countries to uptake and promote these technologies. I thank you.
Thanks a lot, Frida. And Ted, I think question was addressed to you first.
Very big question, but a lot of things that we can talk about. But I think that part of this real critical issue is the communication, because we found very different situations when our colleagues from Africa, from elsewhere in the global South, spoke with the headquarters. You know, not necessarily the agents in between. There were very many different communications channels. And like I said, there will be some that will just automatically say, oh, 410A, cheaper cost, here you go. There are other issues that you're considering as well, right? Are you stuck in a quota system? Does the country have issues with this? Is there a way to get outside that quota system? There are many other factors that are involved in this. We've recognized this with the policy within the Montreal Protocol. You remember there's a lot of dialogue about how do we do this? One of the main things was they says it's a solution that requires, yes, this is a government focus, but this is the Montreal Protocol. We'll get to industry in a moment, but it said it requires collaboration between the importing countries and the exporting countries. It's not just one. It's not a blame one side or burden one side. Yes, each has to do their own work, but are there solutions from direct dialogue? And the same goes with the companies that we've spoken with. You know, talk to them more directly. And I'd like to see if any of my colleagues would like to chime in, because some have done this. I don't know, Hubert, you want to?
I think Tad has put me on the spot, but yeah, so my name is Hubert Zan. I work with the Ghana Energy Commission, which is the government regulator mandated to enforce energy efficiency. And I think one of the critical things about the A5 party is the collaboration. And Ghana is doing this quite well. We have a situation where the institution mandated under the Constitution to enforce energy efficiency is with the energy institution. But you also have the ozone officer who is responsible for the Montreal Protocol discussion. So we have collaborated together to make sure that we are working according to what the requirements are for the country. So first thing, how do you get the industries to collaborate? We first had to set the minimum performance standards. And when we did that, we incorporated a minimum refrigerant requirement. And then we went to the manufacturers. So again, I think Frida was asking, how do you get industry to make the product available? So we visited China, went to the top 10 exporters. So we went to GRI, Midea, TCL, Changhong, and said, this is the regulation. This is what we want. Said, but this is quite strange. Do you need this kind of products in Africa? How many people can afford it? And those were the questions, the manufacturers asked us. And we said, leave that to the country. We want this quality of products. This is the minimum efficiency levels we want. And when it gets to the country, we will put programs in place to be able to support the uptake. And so we came up with incentive programs. And believe you me, when the products arrived, Ghanaians actually went for the product without taking advantage of the incentive. So it only gave us the impression that we keep on using the price. But when we create advocacy on the benefits, the individual knows the savings they are going to make. And the shop attendants, who is even supposed to advise, will also have to be critically trained on all of this. So these are the initiatives we have taken. Engaging the factory to say this is the product we want, locally training the technician, training the shop attendant, training the importer to understand what product they are purchasing, and then most importantly, the consumer to understand the benefits of the products that they are buying. And I think so far, the story is working for Ghana. A clear example is leapfrogging from R22, and I'm sure that is quite strange to hear that we still had R22 air conditioners being imported to Ghana. And the excuse is that we have some timelines to phase out. But Energy Commission said, yes, even though you are given a quota under the NOU, we are going to set a certain efficiency level that will let us leapfrog from the quota system. And that is what we did. We were able to leapfrog from R22 to now having R32 products coming in. And we believe to replicate the same to go into the natural refrigerants as well. So I can only advise that, yes, we are behind in terms of our phase down periods, but we need to also put some incentives in place. One of the critical things we learned from the manufacturer was also about the volumes, the demand. Because if we are able to harmonize these regulations, set a minimum level, then the volumes they will be producing will be something substantial, and we can reduce on the price. It will shock you to know that the invoices we requested for, R410A, R32, the difference was not much. So why are you moving from R22 to R410 as an alternative when you can get an R32 or R290 at a better price? So the discussions are bigger than we are looking, but we need to start somewhere. And the point is that the importer would always want to make profits, but they need to make sure that they are also selling the right products in the market. So please, quota system, A5 countries have a long time to phase out or phase down under the Kigali Amendment. However, we can set some minimum requirements, some refrigerant requirements, and then we can leapfrog because we are asking for a huge demand, and the manufacturers are here. They can confirm that if Africa has a big market, if we have the same level of efficiency levels, I'm sure we can have economies of scale on the products. So I believe products are available, we can get it, but we need to collaborate. The agency responsible for energy efficiency needs to work closely with the ozone unit in coming up with these programs to be able to get the products in the market. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the encouraging and optimistic example from Ghana. And with this, we would actually come to an end of this session. I think you showed us very nicely, and there's not much to summarize for me. It is important to collaborate across many different groups, so involving industry from exporting countries if there are, of course, also importers or industries within the respective countries, work together between government agencies across countries, and then also work on international cooperation. And one is making technologies available, the other one is encouraging market uptake, right? That is very important, and awareness raising can also be done jointly. By industry. They do want to sell their products. And I'm sure there's possibility also to further exchange on this, but then also a collaborative effort of looking at life cycle costs in particular can make those new sustainable technologies a really interesting alternative. And with that, I would like to hand for the final closing words over to Yunri.
So thank you very much, Alan. Yeah, actually, I'm very excited to attend this side events. Why? Because UNIDO is a specialized industry organization in the UN system, and actually we work very close with most of you, in this room for the industries. For example, Danfoss, Daikin, Media, and Moontech, Fresh, and so on. So happy to have this opportunity. And firstly, I would like to appreciate our co-organizer, CCAC, and also GIZ, and also all the speakers and the participants for your rich and also forward-looking thinking discussion. And we also really appreciate the other company represented here. You are the pioneering company, sharing not only your technologies, but your commitment for advancing the sustainable cooling. This is very, very important. The company have always been the driving force behind the very successful technology transition for the Montreal Protocol, even in the past from CFC, HFCFC, but also nowadays for the HFC phase down. I think I want to share the 3 key takeaway message with all of you. The first is that you can see the industry, especially pioneer industry in this room, is not simply response to the environmental policies, for example, the Kigali Amendment or the Montreal Protocol. Actually, you are shaping the future of the sustainable cooling. Whatever you propose today and also you commit today to will shape the future of the sustainable cooling in the world. Secondly, I have to say the refrigerant transition, including the natural refrigerants and others, will go ahead with the energy efficiency. You can see that the standards regarding the energy efficiency today shows that these two has to be go together, because now we need to solve the system issue, both from the direct emission and also indirect emission. The third, I want to say no single stakeholder can achieve this transition alone. We're so happy to see that today the government, companies, industrial organizations, and international organizations, even also multilateral secretariat, we sit together and to move forward for the sustainable cooling and for the future. I think today the discussion is only the beginning. Tomorrow morning we will have also the part 2 of this discussion, and we want to move from the shared experience to the concrete action. We hope the industrial leaders and also policymakers, we can jointly explore what the solution to accelerate this process for the natural refrigerant and energy efficiency cooling technologies in developing country. Hopefully we can have some volunteer commitment tomorrow, hopefully be announced. And this volunteer commitment we will further announce at the 10th anniversary of the Kigali Amendment later on this year in Kigali, during the COP. And thank you again for your active participation, and also you with your very successful OEWG meeting. And also from UNIDO side, we are really looking forward to collaboration with you to promote sustainable cooling. Thank you very much.